Welcome to the Beyond the Sound podcast. Here at Beyond the Sound, we explore and discuss music and arts happenings in the Salvation Army Northwest Division, serving Washington State, Northern Idaho, and Western Montana. I am your host, John Opina, Divisional Music and Gospel Arts Director, and this is episode 15, and we have some very special guests today. I'll let them introduce themselves, but this is our December episode, and we have a lot of good things to talk about. And so I'll start with a friend of the Army. He's played in a few of the bands here in the Northwest Division, and we'll start with John Stava. So obviously, I said your name. Give us your profession and your current tie to the brass band scene.
Thank you. Yes, my name is John Stava. Has been for many years. I'm a retired band director. I taught in the state of California for about 40 years. Currently retired, living in the Gig Harbor area, and my connect to the brass band scene right now is my ongoing connection with the Salvation Army bands, which I've had all of my life. And then Brass Band Northwest, when I retired, somebody referred me to Jay, and he generously consented to let me join the Brass Band Northwest. So that's kind of my connect with the brass band world at this point, and I'm very happy with it.
Does he only have you playing one instrument?
Depends. I've played a number of instruments in the band, but I've not got the flexibility that you have. I don't play baritone.
Oh, I'm not sure if that's considered flexibility. Well, thank you, John. And then we have our next guest.
Hi, John. Good to see you. This is Judson Scott. I direct Brass Band Northwest, and I teach trumpet at the University of Puget Sound down in Tacoma, and then play with a number of local orchestras, Symphony Tacoma, Northwest Sinfonietta, NOCO, the North Corner Chamber Orchestra, which is a conductorless group, which is fun. No sitting back and waiting for direction there. You got to jump in and be involved.
Yeah, so let's not be too shy about it. These are both doctorates. I think they both have their DMA in conducting. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Yep.
Yeah, so a lot of knowledge on this podcast episode today. Now, we often talk off the cuff here, and I just want to kind of go back to, I think, your NOCO group, your conductorless. Yes. Do you enjoy playing in that group, and how does it differ from playing in?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite groups to play with. It's a chamber orchestra, so classical Mozart, Haydn, Beethoven. Double winds, double brass, no low brass, just timpani for percussion, and smaller strings. So it's more manageable to do without a conductor. And I will tell you, the first time I played with the group, I left saying, "Oh my gosh, I am never going to do this again," because everything takes forever without a conductor. After some years, I went back and it was great because they had figured out everyone is welcome to chime in. Of course, if everyone chimes in all the time, nothing gets done.
Yeah.
Right? Conductors really streamline the process. You can end up in the same place. And so the way it works now is there's a group of about 4 leaders, and usually there's 2 leaders per piece, a string player and a wind or brass, and they take charge, and then but welcome input from anybody in the group, and so it's a great. Everyone in the group is really involved, so you get very committed performances, all the way to the back of all the sections, and it's very energetic, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I used to, I'm sure you guys have played in like small groups as well. It's just like the attention to music making seems to be a little bit higher because we're so hyper focused on each other and trying to make sure our parts fit. Well, we always do a top 3 here on the podcast. It's mostly due to food. We can probably talk about food, of course. But let's go with your top 3 musical moments, specifically with the Brass Band Northwest. John Stava, why don't you go first?
Number one for me has got to be the brass and organ concert that we did probably in 2016 at Bellevue Press. That was one of the more impressive concerts I've done in my entire life. Then at the summer concert, Westlake Park, number 2 place for me would be the summer concert at Westlake Park. I was playing right at the very front of the group, and there was a gentleman off to my left listening that probably was homeless. He was trying to leave just before the concert ended, and I invited him to join me for lunch. And we had for me, a very, very rewarding lunchtime with a person that was not connected to the band except listening to the band. And then number 3 moment for me was when I got to solo the Hetty Wainthrope theme with the Brass Band Northwest.
Also, I guess I should have asked this earlier. How long have you been in the band now, John?
Since 2014.
2014. Okay. And what about you, Dr. Scott?
Well, it's easy to point to a few big things. We did John McCabe's Cloudcatcher Fells, which is an awesome piece. I can't recommend it highly enough. The way it's scored, there are independent, maybe not exactly solo lines, but independent lines for every chair in the band. And so, it'll get down to 3 independent alto horns, say, and so everyone's got to own their part, and there's no hiding. And that it's an awesome piece that depicts the mountains in the Lake District. And so I've not been, and so I started looking up photographs and just to see the connections, to like search the web, find pictures of the mountains and the valleys that he was trying to describe in music was quite rewarding. So a big piece like that, easy to point to that. We've done a few premieres. A friend of mine, Michael Weinstein, wrote a big symphony for brass, and Kurt Leland wrote an elegy based on a line from Rilke, which is every angel is terrifying, and which is the idea that if you actually met an angel, they would be an otherworldly creature that would be completely outside of your experience and therefore terrifying.
Yeah.
Like in the Messiah, and the angel said unto you, fear not. Like that would be the first thing, because he'd be like, oh my gosh, what am I seeing? Right? Anyway, sorry. So those big things are easy to point to, but like the Derek Bourgeois Serenade is such a great little gem, and so we've performed that piece, on 3 or 4 different concerts, and it's so well written and such a beautiful little gem that it's hard to bypass that one. And then I'll say, see, I'm kind of sneaking in some extras here by grouping those 3. So right before the pandemic, we did the William Gordon arrangement of God Be With You. And one of the members of the band passed away right at the end of the COVID lockdown. And so the band showed up at his house and played a few pieces ending with that. And really highlighted the power that music brings to a situation. That's an unforgettable performance for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw in right there for just a second. I couldn't agree more with Jay on that. Those were 3 very monumental moments for me as a performer.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to play that several times, and it's an incredible piece. It could be a good closer for a festival coming up soon.
Well, and we have used it as a festival closer, and that was, and since you brought it up, I'm going to throw out another great brass band moment, and it's the mass brass at the end of the brass festival, where when we've done this, we've had 4 or 5 brass bands, and we circle the audience. And then usually just play one piece, and it's ranged from, like, for example, God Be With You. We did the Pines of Rome, the Final March. The repertoire is ranged all over, but to just surround the audience like that it's big and powerful.
Yeah. I would say my top 3 moments. I've only been in the band. I think I've subbed for the band last 2.5 years. I think my first concert with the band was the Washington Music Educators Association down in Bellevue. I think that was a couple years ago
Right.
now. So that obviously is a big one for me. I really enjoy.
Well, and likewise, because like to play for a room full of musicians, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I remember that we got on the stage fairly late, right? Because the band before us went like 10, 15 minutes over or something.
Right, something, yeah.
Yeah, some band from Idaho. And then I really had fun at the Edmonds concert this last summer, that concert in the park. There's just something about, in my job, I'm sure for a lot of people, is just getting people to experience music on a more frequent basis, and having it in an outdoor setting on a beautiful day. It was warm, but it wasn't hot. That was nice. Also in Bellevue, that concert outside, I want to say
at the City Hall?
Yeah, City Hall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, that's just we just sometimes in concert settings we can get really stiff, but those outdoor concerts we just kind of like loosen up a little bit and just have a grand old time. Okay, follow-up question: if you could play or conduct in any group in the world, what group would it be, and what piece would you conduct?
So,
Well,
if I can jump in real quickly, ISB, obviously International Staff Band of the Salvation Army, I'd like to, but or Corey. But another band that I've discovered is the Ikanger Bjørsvik band from Norway. Being as my family's from Norway, I'd love to go sit in with that band. They're really good. And the only piece of music I'd like to play with them would be Festival Magic by Eric Ball. So,
I don't know that one. I'll have to look that up.
Oh, don't tell me that.
I'll go next.
Okay.
Yeah, ISB would be up there, especially like early 2000s ISB with David Dawes sitting on the front bench. But actually, there's a band from France right now. I think they're called Tres Étoiles. They won the national championships, I think, a couple years ago. Fantastic players. It's such a good band. A lot of those bands at that level, they're really close in capability. I just think their musicality is a little bit better than, say, like Corey and Black Dyke and Grimethorpe. Obviously, Brass Band Willowbrook is smashing it this year. I think they've won 2 titles already, if you guys follow the brass band scene. So it's been fun following them. And Resurgam would be my piece of choice. I was telling my wife this the other month or so, that when I was a child, an early teenager, it was back when we had CD players. Not many people these days remember what that is. I'm sure you guys do. That's not me calling you guys old. I apologize if that came across that way. That's not how I meant that. But I remember listening to the ISB recording with Resurgam on there, and I would just like conduct in front of a mirror, just with my eyes closed, pointing at David Dawes, playing the solo, Derek Kane on euphonium, Andrew Justice on trombone. And yeah, I think that band and that piece, that would be quite a moment for me.
I wasn't quite a teenager when that came out, but I was very close to a teenager when Resurgam first came out, and it was just a monumental piece that I love to this day.
Well, the one of the things that both of you have pointed to is really just playing with other great musicians. I mean, that's the higher the caliber of the people around you, the more fun it is. And so I'm gonna go off track a bit, and I'm gonna say I'd like to play second trumpet on the easiest Mozart symphony with the Berlin Philharmonic, because
there you go.
They broadcast live, they stream live every concert every week, and to show up and know that you're going to be broadcast around the world every week. I mean, the level that they play at is pretty astonishing, and arguably is the greatest orchestra in the world. There are others, contenders, absolutely, but just that level is that's pretty amazing. Fountain City would be fun. Gosh darn it, I just lost his name. The tuba player conducts in the brass band in, I think it's Pittsburgh, that the professional brass band. He's been a soloist and a clinician for the brass festival. Sorry.
I'm trying to think of his name and I can't remember him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not River City, right? River City's somewhere else.
Oh, it might be.
Yeah.
And I might have Pittsburgh wrong. I think it's River City and Gorley.
James? James Gorley?
James Gorley. Yeah.
Yep.
He's a great musician, like to play under his baton on a regular basis, and such a lovely guy and great musician. Yeah, he's awesome.
Okay, so now I have to add a second now because you did too. I think the Lucerne Festival Orchestra that they do in Switzerland. Is it Switzerland?
Yeah.
I think the Lucerne Festival Orchestra.
I've heard some of that, yeah.
And it would be Mahler 9.
Oh, that's an awesome piece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I finally got to play that last summer or 2 summers ago. 2 summers ago.
Jealous.
And yeah, it's such an amazing piece. I'll tell you though, like the greatest orchestra concert I ever heard was the Dresden Philharmonic, and they came to Boston when I was living there, and the program was Strauss Don Juan, Beethoven's Fourth Piano Concerto, intermission, Tchaikovsky Symphony No. 4, and they clearly, Boston's a great orchestra, and they clearly came to like stake out some turf and say, we're right there. They were all the way to the back of the string sections. They were just diving in.
It's funny. We're all three of us are trumpet players, so this isn't a question that we planned. But and trumpet players in the orchestra scene now, my scene is long past. But in your guys' opinion, what orchestra? You don't have to give like a timeline. I guess it would be, but what trumpet section would be like the standout trumpet section in your guys' mind in the orchestral world?
Well, the short answer has to be Chicago, right? I mean, Chicago has, because that's Bud and those guys defined American trumpet playing. That's right. That said, there's I took some lessons with Tim Morrison, who was in Boston for a while, and he is got the sweetest sound. It just floats. And so, for example, if you watch the movie Born on the 4th of July, he's the one who's playing all those trumpet solos that just, it's just astoundingly beautiful. And so Tom Hooton has a very similar approach. And I'm very fond of his playing as well.
Some of the Heroes was written for Morrison, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you guys know this, but Mark Ridenauer, who was the assistant principal in Chicago for many years, I think he got there at the end of Bud's time. He's a Salvationist.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he grew up playing Salvation Army. He went to Asbury University, or Asbury College at the time, where I went to college. And the funny thing is, he actually went to school to be a vocalist.
Huh.
And then I guess one summer, they just said he just spent all day in the practice room and then became Mark Ridenauer.
Wow.
So that's a funny little tie.
Well, the Arnold Jacobs thing is sing through your instrument. That's
right.
Song and wind. It's not about meathead stuff, trumpet jock stuff. It's like projecting song through your horn.
Yeah, and actually remember he would come to Asbury because his kids were there at the time, and he was doing a spell with Cincinnati, and I think they were playing Mahler too. And I remember just hearing him in the practice room at like 10 o'clock at night, just ripping these trumpet parts. And I'm trying to walk to my apartment, and I'm just like just standing there staring at the window. And it's like, oh, this is fantastic. Okay, moving on. What makes brass banding unique in your guys' opinion? Unique and or different from the other groups that you play in or lead?
Can I jump in first?
Of course.
Sure.
I love the fact that in brass band everything is treble clef. The fingerings are all the same. If you play tuba, if you play baritone, you play cornet. We start all the kids on cornet, and you don't have to worry about fingerings. They're all the same, and it just makes it so much easier to, number one, move around the band, and number two, makes it easier to learn. As a public school teacher, I was always having to deal with teaching treble clef, trumpet, B flat, and then B flat clarinet, and concert pitch flutes, and tubas in concert pitch, and all the different things. Not having any woodwinds or any strings, and having everybody on the treble clef is just that makes us so different. And then there's something, and I don't know if you guys have experienced this or not, but I've played in a lot of orchestras, I've played in a lot of bands, and the camaraderie in band is way different, and I think much better. That's just my opinion. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because my son, who's in 6th grade now, he thought about switching to euphonium at the middle school. I said, okay, well, just so you know, like, they might have you read bass clef because they don't read treble clef there. And he goes, what's that? So I was trying to tell him, and at the end of the conversation, he just goes, I think I'll just stick to cornet. Justin, before you answer, I don't think, have you told us what like your connection or how you got into the brass band? Because the brass band's sounds like brass band's relatively new in your musical journey. Before you answer, how did you get connected to the brass band scene and become the director of Brass Band Northwest?
Sure. Well, so when I moved to Seattle from Boston, I decided to get a doctorate. Thought it would be a way to meet people. Turns out UW at the time was not really connected into the music scene at all. That has fortunately changed. But so I got a doctorate in conducting, and Brass Band Northwest had auditions. They were looking for the previous conductor had left because of time constraints. And so they had a season where they had 4 different conductors, and they chose me. Probably a big mistake, but that's what they did.
No,
they've been stuck
no,
with me
no.
ever since.
Do you remember
Anyway,
who the other conductors were?
Well, I'm not going to say.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
and I actually, I don't. I mostly I don't, and so I don't want to just call out the one conductor whose name I can conjure up. But anyway, so it was really, brass band was a whole new thing for me, and and I will say at the beginning, when I took the audition, I was like, gosh, I don't know. They don't even have wins. Like, do I really want to do this? And I am so glad I did, because as John said earlier, like the camaraderie of just brass is so nice, because percussion obviously is different, but percussion and brass fit together well, and it's just everyone's coming from the same place, and we all understand each other's struggles because we all have them at our own on our own instruments, and so the camaraderie is great, and I'll say that especially for an amateur group, all those conical instruments really go a long way to creating a great resonance, which, the intonation is a little easier, which is nice because, all brass, all the same inclinations. So it's been a great discovery for me. And the way I describe the brass band is that you get the warmth that you would imagine with a string section, but the precision of a jazz band. And there's just no other group like it, that can turn on a dime and give those really exciting articulations to make the music pop, but at the same time just be huge and lush when appropriate. It's really a unique sound.
I'm reminded when I was in high school, I was in Long Beach, and two of the kids in the band were the Broughtons, Bruce and Bill.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And we had the conversations with, especially Bill was talking about how with the different combinations in a brass band you could get. He said if you take a euphonium and put it with a cornet and play them in unison, it almost sounds like a clarinet. And there's all those different sonorities available, even though you've got, like you say, they're all conical instruments except the trombones. So that was just a cool thing going through that.
I feel like I should know this, but why is the bass trombone the only instrument that remains in bass clef?
Do you know
Well, John,
any bass trombone players?
See, that's exactly where I was going. You're just asking us to make some bass trombone player joke. I mean,
I kind of know the general history of brass banding, of how they came from a lot of coal mining towns, and a lot of, music in those days was like a high class ordeal. And so the brass bands came really as like a community music in Denver. And a lot of them were just cornet players that had to learn how to switch to play other instruments. But I always wondered why they kept the bass trombone and bass clef.
Yeah.
It's
So now I've got something to study and research. I'm going to go to work.
Yeah, we'll expect a paper on that next Tuesday.
There you go.
I guess this is directly at Dr. Scott. Are there any upcoming or future projects or like big dreams with the Brass Band Northwest?
well, in January, so for many years, Brass Band Northwest hosted the Northwest Brass Festival, and it would be a day of clinics. Every band would get clinicked with a conductor, who would usually conduct one of the pieces on the concert, and then lead the mass brass piece at the end. And then we usually had a soloist, some pretty outstanding soloists, Al Vizzuti, Pat Sheridan. Just the top shelf. So Jens Lindemann. So anyway, but COVID brought all that to an end. We were actually 3 days away from the concert when the world shut down in the state of Washington, where suddenly there were no public events. So that hurt. Anyway, so finally this year we're getting it rolling again. It's a little smaller. We're not bringing in a soloist this year, but we're going to have a clinician who can coach the bands, lead the concert. And so we're very excited getting that started up again. That's January 24th. It's a 3:00 in the afternoon concert, and that'll be at Bel Prez in Bellevue. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Anything beyond that? Is there what would your dream to, whether it's to take the band somewhere or to do something? Do you have any like aspirations of anything like that?
Well, earlier I mentioned, that Derek Bourgeois wrote that serenade for his wife as a part of the ceremony. Oddly, there's a lot of original music by Derek Bourgeois that has not been recorded. And which I search it on YouTube, I can't find any performances of there's like 5 or 6 pieces, which is just like makes my head explode because he's so good.
Yeah.
And so I did pick up 3 or 4 Derek Bourgeois pieces, and I do kind of have a dream in the back of my head of I don't know about putting out an album. Is that even a thing? Is it possible now to put out a CD. Is that do they exist at all? Anyway, but to record, at least for YouTube, performances of these pieces, just to get him out there, because he's such a great composer. Similarly, I would like to do all of the John McCabe pieces. That's a heavier lift. Those are hard.
Yeah.
Well, as is the Bourgeois. I mean, he's not easy.
Has a band ever like taken a trip or been on tour anywhere?
We took a ferry over to Bremerton.
Bremerton.
Oh, okay.
The world tour starting in Bremerton.
Yeah. No, we haven't. Stuck up here in the upper left corner of the United States, it's a long way to go to get kind of anywhere.
Yeah.
Like the nearest NABA thing is in the Midwest. It's a long haul.
I feel like I should know this, but is Brassband Northwest a NABA band?
We are.
I'm not sure how those
of course we
associations
are. Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Has the band competed in the whatever they have?
Because it's that requires a trip to
a lot of money
to the other side of the country,
to the Midwest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But
I didn't realize that. I've been following brass bands my entire life, but the brass band, the competitive world, is like still fairly new to me. And even in the UK, where they have competitions like all the time, they struggle with finding funds. In fact, the nationals they just had, they had a couple of bands that had to drop out because they didn't have the funds to get there. And that's kind of like I guess I didn't put that together, but I imagine if the group is having to fly to Atlanta or wherever, that gets pretty costly pretty quick, especially if you have to lug your own instruments, right? Especially tubas, that can get pretty, can get pretty expensive.
I'm assuming, we would be able to borrow percussion and maybe tubas, maybe. But yeah, it would be, and honestly, I do think there's a good place for competition. That's great. But, to me, it's about making the music, making this group of players perform as musically as possible, and not necessarily dot every I and cross every T that's in the score, but rather what makes the best effect. And actually, I mean, we're doing this great piece by Tony DiLorenzo, Christmas Tunes, and just 2 rehearsals ago, we changed this accelerando that he had written to make it a little bit more of a subito tempo change. And it just, for this group, it just flows better. It might just flow better anyway. I don't know. But I can say that for the group of players in front of me, it just locks better. And so, I wouldn't want to I don't know, I'm not allowed to go off the score that much. Whatever. I might get marked down. Well, it's about making the best performance possible.
Yeah, I grew up watching like Von Karajan and Bernstein, and I mean, what's tempo to them, right? Yeah.
Well, if we're talking about dreams, and this has been a pretty well ongoing thing, Jay and I have spent quite a bit. The dream for me is to have audiences, to have, and like you say, we're in a particularly large venue where we're at right now. But even short of that, trying to get audiences out, and we're not the only group struggling with audiences for live performances. And that would be my dream, is when we can get audiences that are going to come and listen to us and be a part of our performance and a part of the music.
Yeah, Belpress is a beautiful chapel. It's a huge chapel.
It is. Yes, it is.
Do you know how many they seat? Because I think there was a choral festival not that long ago there, right? And they had, 1,500, I think someone said?
About that, yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
It was full. The choral festival, it was standing room only. There were people standing up in the balcony because there were absolutely no seats available. But, I'd love to have something like that. But just to have, an audience, and whether it's there or anywhere else, I would like to see more audience participation in concerts, in live music.
I showed this to you yesterday, John, but there's that video that went around social media for a while of I can't remember what they're conducting. I showed it to you yesterday. I can't even remember.
Yeah, and I'm drawing a blank. Yeah,
the end of the movement ends pretty soft, and the next movement starts with a big bang, and a lady in the audience just goes, "Ah!" and like she gets woken up, and everyone's just laughing. I assume that's not the kind of interaction participation that you're wanting. So Brass Band Northwest has a concert coming up, right? I think. Do you want to kind of talk about that?
Sure.
Tuesday night. Go for it, Jay.
Yeah, Tuesday the 16th. It's our, every year we do a Christmas concert, and I think this is a particularly fun one. We have a few pieces by local arranger composers. William Gordon, who we mentioned earlier, we've got a couple of his arrangements on the program. He has a fun, sort of a Latin rock and roll setting of God Rest You Merry Gentlemen is going to end the concert. But in the first half, we have some William Berry arrangements. And William, he lives out in Spokane and conducts the Clarion Brass. He's a great trumpet player. He writes very clever arrangements for his own group, and then he has arranged some for brass band. And so we're doing the featured piece on the first half is his setting of movements from the Nutcracker. He calls it Nutcracker Sweet Dreams, something like that.
Yeah.
Nutcracker. Oh, yeah. Anyway, yeah. So the march has some Sousa in it. There's some blues and jazz in some of the movements. Instead of the dance of the pipes, it's the dance of the brass pipes. It's the trombones. Anyway, so it's so that's a lot of fun. But he's a very clever arranger. And then we're also doing a piece he wrote, a setting of the all I can think of is the Carol of the Bells, but that's not it.
Holly and the Ivy.
Well, the Holly and the Ivy is
Ivy.
awesome. That's going to feature Peter Nelson King on E-flat cornet, and that's just a great arrangement. But in the second half, what was the one? Zither Carol, right? That's right.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's such a nice little music box. The way he has it scored with some bells and triangle, and then these moments of just high brass, so that it gets this small little music box sound. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I would
just say it's a very, very charming piece of music. It's fun to play, and it's charming.
And I should also say we're collecting donations
for.
It's going to go. The donations are going to go to people who are food insecure through Bell Pres Church. They have a program set up, and so whatever money we collect is going to go straight to them. Because I was pretty horrified actually to find out how many people in America are on the SNAP program, because we should have an economy that people can make money and afford to eat. I think that's kind of basic. So, people with jobs and they can't afford to feed themselves and their families. Yeah. It's really tragic. So anyway, so we're trying to do our little bit to step up and fill some bellies.
So these are non-perishable goods that they could bring to the concert.
Actually, yes, they can do that. We're actually mostly focused on financial donations that they can get the stuff that makes the most sense. I mean, we won't turn anything down. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But
yeah. I live in Everett, and I attend the Salvation Army in Everett, and it's when the government shut down, I think the increase in their food pantry was like 300% or something like that.
Oh
so,
my!
Yep.
So it was, and that's in a smaller city.
Right.
And so I can just imagine what it was like here in the King County area. So yeah, that's December 16th,
Yes.
Tuesday,
Yep.
6:30?
7 o'clock downbeat.
7:00.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you want to
Yeah.
bring perishable goods or make a financial donation to that'd be great. Now you've alluded to it already, but in January is the Northwest Brass Festival, and so that's on a Saturday. There's afternoon performances. Did you say who the guest was?
I didn't. It's Tim Saltzman, who just retired as director of bands at the University of Washington. Well, just excited because he's a great educator, great musician. Really, spent his career on brass and winds, and he just knows how to make for an emotional but also crisp performance.
This is the first one since COVID. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are some of your expectations, if you have any, for the event this year?
Well, it's basically a concert with four-ish brass bands. We're expecting Seattle Temple Band to play, Puget Brass.
Puget Brass.
Based in Seattle. We're based in Bellevue. And then the Tacoma Brass Band, we're expecting them. And so 4 bands, maybe 5. So each band will play about 20 minutes, and then there'll be a piece that everybody plays together. And again, I expect we'll wrap around the audience like we used to when we were at Belpres. It's also possible that there will be an educational component. And that's in the past, the Seattle Brass Choir. I don't know if I've got the name exactly right. That's run by Rona.
I think that's right.
Yeah, and so they may come out, and which would be great to have, because there'd be so many players that could provide potential coaching opportunities for the kids. And that was always a big part of the festival, and it's a little up in the air as yet whether that'll be on this first festival or if that'll wait another year.
And there's no youth portion element this year, right?
Not this year, but this is one of the things that I've been pushing really hard for, is just to get the festival open again. But yes, we had a very, very strong youth festival component before we shut down, and I'd like to see that return.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it in whatever capacity I'm there. Now you're both educators. This is a question that wasn't I previously asked, but I was talking to Peter Nelson King, and I didn't realize that he actually studied under you, Dr. Scott.
Yep, he went to the University of Puget Sound, and then won the concerto competition with the Hummel Concerto, and then went off to Boston and studied at Boston University, and then came back to the Pacific Northwest. And so he was early. Boy, I can't throw a date on when he graduated, but sometime between 2000 and 2010 was when he was at Puget Sound.
Yeah. Okay. So this is my question. What does it feel like as an educator, and even just maybe as a musician, to kind of come across a former student and see that they're still playing, still making music, and Peter's a fabulous musician, and to some, making music at a high level. What does that kind of do for you as a person and as an educator? John, why don't you go first?
Oh, that's easy. It's validation. I've got a couple, 3-4 students that have gone, not in the professional world necessarily, but for instance, one of my better students works for a rocket company, and he's formed a band at work that he writes music for and plays music for, and that is just, to me, that's great. He's still making music.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. No, the validation thing yeah, that's pretty huge. So just a little more about Peter. So his senior year, well, he won the concerto competition on trumpet. He accompanied a fellow student. Peter was playing piano and accompanied a student for their recital. So that's a lot of piano playing. He played bassoon on someone else's recital. He's kind of let the bassoon drop at this point. And then on a wind ensemble concert, he played E-flat alto horn because one of the horn players got sick at the last minute, and he sat in, read the F parts on E-flat alto horn. And when he wasn't playing trumpet, right? There was like, oh, we really need another horn for this. So he'd put his trumpet down, pick up the E-flat, play. And so anyway, yeah, Peter is a pretty amazing talent. And he also sings, but I don't think that figured into his senior year. But anyway, I'll tell you, when I was in grad school, well, people will always tell you, oh, you've got to really just zero in on one thing. But one of my friends, Michael Weinstein, we've played some of his music with the brass band. He's a professional horn player. He sings professionally, not so much anymore, but he did in choirs. He's an accomplished pianist, and he's primarily a composer. But so you don't have to choose one thing. You have to give it enough time, each thing enough time. But, and it's the beauty of all that is that, he learns things from playing piano that he then brings to his horn playing. So he's very aware of the harmonic motion of a piece because he's used to thinking in harmony. And I will say that harmony is the thing that I probably relate to least in music. Love rhythm, love melody. Harmony is a little bit more of a little off my center because I've just never had to think harmonically in the same way as a piano player would, right? So anyway.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, here, the Salvation Army music is looked at as a ministry, and but when we take a look at like our music programs, which we've been doing for a very long time, it's a very slow burn, right? I mean,
right.
Students that we start, when they're 7, 8, 9, 10 on up, we usually don't see the fruit of that labor, so to speak, until many, many years down the road. And I've seen my assistant Keith Almanza has moved to Golden State, the San Francisco area,
right?
And he's been telling me this is a busy time for the Salvation Army with kettles and Christmas events, and he's been kind of telling me some of the players that he's had in his groups, and seeing these players many years later, it's validation for sure, and kind of helps. It kind of makes you feel good. Before the internet cuts out again, to end, what would be your guys' top musical advice for young musicians?
Enjoy.
Yeah. So one piece of advice would be to play your instrument, not work it. And so we all tend to like zero in and try to conquer something. And it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be play. People don't want to watch you work. They want to watch you play. So that would be the first thing. I mean, I could go on and on, but the short version would be whatever is most important to you in life, you should do that first in the day. It only gets harder the longer the day goes on. And so if playing your instrument is important to you, get up and do that. I understand school schedules can get in the way, but you know what? You actually can get up an hour early, get to school an hour early, practice an hour before school. I get it, like in a house or apartment, parents may not be up for that, that you're like going to make that kind of noise at that hour. But I'll tell you, so the principal trumpet player of San Diego regularly gets up at 4 a.m., works out for an hour and a half, and then practices for a couple hours. And so that's how his day starts. He starts with the important stuff, being physically fit and that means he can play his instrument more because he's got good control over his body. So whatever. And from personal experience, I spent a summer teaching at a music camp in Maine, and I didn't want to get up early. So the first thing we had to do was sit in an ensemble with the kids, and I would get out of bed at 5 to 8, grab a cup of coffee, walk to rehearsal, and then have to play, band music. The other trumpet teacher, Steve Jones, was getting up at 6:30, warming up till 7:30, getting a good breakfast, and going to rehearsal. So at the end of 2 weeks, I could barely get a sound out of my horn because the first thing I did was sprint every morning, and he sounded awesome. And so from that, I learned I'm going to get up and I do his warm up. Well, it's a variation of it now, but it's the Michael Chun Trumpeter's Daily Routine. I do it every day. And so that kind of like doing it first and paying attention, and I'll tell you, it's an involved routine. Nothing I ever sit down to play is harder than my morning routine. And so it gives me great confidence when I sit down in an orchestra. Look, my warm up was harder than this. What do I have to worry about here?
Yep.
So anyway,
I want to tell you that the first time I was chewed out roundly in music was in 1959 at band camp. I'm not going to tell you how old I was, but Eric Lydson chewed me out big time for not being physically fit to play my instrument. If you can believe that. That was just about a year before he died. But I mean, he ripped me a good one.
Yeah, that's another giant name in the brass banding world. Well, Paxton, if you're listening to this is my son. He's like one of our only subscribers to this. If you're listening to this, please do not get up at 5 a.m. to start practicing your horn. He has to be on the bus at 6:40, so he gets up really early. Well, thank you both.
Paxton, if you're listening, I'll give you $10 if your father comes to rehearsal complaining about how you keep waking him up in the morning.
Paxton, I double that.
Oh, well, thank you both for taking your time out of your day just to join and chat. So just to recap, December 16th at 7 p.m. at the Bell Press, Brass Band Northwest concert, and then Christmas concert, which is going to feature some good music. That Nutcracker Sweet Dreams, it might give you some nightmares. The players some nightmares, but it's such a fun piece. I've enjoyed that. It's actually having to make me think a little bit, which is good, which is fun. And then join us the Northwest Brass Festival on January 24th at Bell Press. So thank you both, and we'll see you later.
Great. It's been a pleasure, John.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Minus the internet.
Thank you so much. All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah,
All right, see you guys. Well, thank you for joining us on this episode of Beyond the Sound. And speaking of the December 16th concert with the Brass Band Northwest, again, if you'd like to help donate to help food insecurity, you could donate non-perishable goods or make a donation financially. 100% of donations will go to the Bell Press Fund to handle food insecurity. All right. Well, thank you so much. Hope you've had a good time listening to this episode, and we will catch you later.
In the heart of the rain and evergreen trees, the mountains meet the sea, a place of peace. Melodies rising like the morning mist. We gather to learn, create, and exist. Beyond the sound, beyond the stage, we lift our voices, turn the page. A symphony of love, unbound. Here in the PNW, we go beyond the sound.